In this video, I'm going to show you another way to use your watercolor pencils. I always recommend, if you're going to get started with stamping, that you buy the watercolor pencils and the blender pens, because those two together can add a ton of color to your stamped images, and it's a great way to get started. It's also inexpensive. The watercolor pencils come in a set that look like this. There's a set of 24, and these are the original watercolor pencils that I purchased when I became a demonstrator almost 10 years ago. They have lasted me a really long time. They are $19.95 for the set. The blender pens look like this. They come in a set of 3 and they're dual tipped. They are $9.95. So for about $30 you are ready to go with your coloring. So I'm going to show you how to make this kind of an effect with your watercolor pencils, but we're not going to be coloring directly on the paper with the pencil. So what I've done is I've started with my little image here. I've stamped the truck and the hearts from Loads of Love, and we'll get started. Now, with your blender pen, first thing I always do is make sure that there's no color coming out of it so that I don't mess up the colors with something else. And what I'm going to do this time is use the end of my pencil as my, almost like a paint palette. I'm going to pick up the color with the blender pen. Now, I'll color really quickly here. You can see that I've gotten some color into my pen. The trick with this is going to give it a softer look, but the trick is to start where you want the darkest color to be. So I'm going to color on this heart. I'm going to start at this side and then move over to the right. And if you look closely, in fact, I'll move this up here. If you look closely, you can kind of see that it's a little bit shaded. I'll do the same thing for another one. And there's probably enough color in here to do another one. Okay, that just gives you an idea. Now I'm just going to clean this off again. I'll pick another color and we'll do a few more hearts, then we'll move on to the truck. So now I've picked up a red color. And started to color the red hearts. Oh, that one ended up a little bit darker, but that's okay. We'll just say I meant to do that. Okay, so there's the end result with the two different hearts, or two different colors of hearts. So now, let me clean this off again. We're going to start with the windows on the truck. And the reason I'm doing that is just because it's a quicker thing to get out of the way. I'm using a light blue, and I'm going to just color just lightly from one side to the next. Now I know you can't see that very well. If I hold it up there, you can kind of see the darker side of that. And then I'll do a little bit on the front windshield. Okay. Now for the fun part. Here's the truck. The truck, I just used brown. And the first thing I'm going to do is color darkly the pieces that I want to be a little bit darker. So the top of the truck bed, the bumpers, you'll notice I'm not doing a ton of shading with that. Now, I have a little bit of color. I'm going to start with the door. And again, I'm starting on the side that I want the color to be the darkest. And then I'm just moving over. Kind of almost gives it a pastel type look. You can probably see it a little bit better if I move it up like that. Now I'm going to keep going without getting any more color, and I'm going to go over the top of this because I don't want it to be too dark. I can always add color later. It's just a little bit more difficult to take it off. So I'm just going to keep going until I feel like I need some more color. Add just a little bit more right here. Just a little bit more right here. The ink that I used to stamp this image is actually just classic basic black ink. Some people prefer to use StazOn. It really depends on how heavy-handed you're going to be with your blender pens. I don't tend to color really hard, so the basic black seems to work out pretty well. Okay, so I've quickly colored my little truck, and it looks a little bit better once I get it closer to the camera. I probably would add just a little bit more right here to the front of it so it doesn't look like it's all striped or something like that. It doesn't look like it needs a body job. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to do is take my black, and you know what? That is not my black color. Yes, it is my black color. Here it is. And I'm going to take the color off of here as well and just color my tires in. I'm not too worried if these are shaded as much, but if they end up that way, even better. Now, as I'm watching the video, as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that it does look pretty dark at one point, or on one side compared to the other sides. But hopefully, as I bring it up closer, you can see that it's not as dramatic as it looks. So that's it. That's another way that you can use your watercolor pencils and your blender pens. It's a softer look as compared to just coloring directly onto the paper and then blending it out. I hope you find it helpful, and there you go. Happy stamping!